When the Second Amendment was written back in 1791, the average American wasn't walking around with an AR-15 or a Glock on their hip. They carried muskets, big, heavy, single-shot firearms that took nearly a full minute to reload. You'd pour the powder, pack the ball, prime the flint, and hope your shot counted, because you usually only had one chance. Accuracy was rough, reliability was worse, and every pull of the trigger was an event. Those guns weren't just for self-defense against enemies. They were survival tools used for hunting food, protecting families, and standing ready in case the young nation needed to defend itself. Fast forward over 2 centuries, and the picture looks a bit different. So how did we go from muskets to modern semi-automatics? And what does that evolution mean for how we understand the Second Amendment today? Before we dive in, be sure to subscribe and help our new channel out. In 1791, the United States was still finding its balance. The revolution had ended only a few years earlier, and the memory of fighting for independence was fresh in everyone's mind. People had lived through a war against one of the strongest empires in the world, and they knew how quickly freedom could be lost. The nation itself was fragile. To the north and west, Britain remained a looming presence. Spain controlled vast territory to the south. Native nations resisted expansion on the frontier. The young republic didn't have a strong standing army, which meant ordinary citizens were expected to step in, forming local militias when danger threatened. That's the world in which the Bill of Rights was born. These first 10 amendments weren't abstract principles, they were immediate protections. The Second Amendment in particular reflected 2 deeply held beliefs: that government power must be limited, and that citizens carried the responsibility to defend their homes, their communities, and their nation. When people in the founding era talked about arms, they were almost always thinking of flintlock muskets. 2 stood out above all others: the British Brown Bess and the French Charleville. These were the workhorses of the 18th century, used in the Revolutionary War and carried well into the early years of the Republic. The Brown Bess, a massive 75 caliber musket, was famous for its power and not necessarily for its accuracy. It was a smooth bore weapon, meaning the inside of the barrel was smooth, so the ball bounced its way out instead of spinning in a straight line. Soldiers often fired in volleys, not because the musket was precise, but because sheer volume of fire was the only way to hit anything consistently. Muskets were common in the army, but on the frontier, people trusted the Kentucky long rifle. The Kentucky long rifle was one of the most important American firearms of its time. Built by German gunsmiths in Pennsylvania, it quickly spread across the frontier and became famous for one thing: accuracy. These rifles were long, sometimes over 4 feet, with barrels reaching 40 to 48 inches in length. Inside the barrel were spiral grooves called rifling that spun the bullet and kept it steady in flight. This made the rifle far more precise than the smoothbore muskets of the day. A skilled shooter could hit targets at 200 or even 300 yards, distances a musket simply could not reach. It usually fired a smaller caliber ball, around 40 or 50 caliber, which meant settlers could save powder and lead, which is an important detail when supplies were scarce. The trade-off was speed. The long rifle was slower to reload than a musket, but for hunters, scouts, and sharpshooters, accuracy mattered more than volume of fire. Alongside muskets and rifles, another firearm played a big role in the founding era: the flintlock pistol. Though these weren't the main weapons for soldiers or settlers, they were important for close defense and quick use when a musket was far too slow or too large to handle. A flintlock pistol worked just like a musket, using a spark from a flint to ignite the powder. But instead of being long and heavy, it was small enough to carry at your side. Most were smoothbore, firing a single ball. Effective range was short, maybe 20 to 30 feet, and accuracy was limited. Still, at close quarters, they could be lethal. Pistols were often carried in pairs. Since they were single shot and slow to reload, having 2 gave the shooter a backup when seconds mattered. Officers, cavalrymen, and travelers on the road valued them for that reason. On the frontier, a pistol might serve as a last line of defense when hunting or when danger appeared suddenly. By the mid-1800s, America was a nation in motion and in conflict. The country had stretched far beyond the original 13 states. New territories opened as settlers pushed westward, chasing land, opportunity, and in many cases gold. This was the age of wagon trains, stagecoaches, and the idea of manifest destiny, the belief that America was destined to spread across the continent. But expansion brought tension. Native nations fought to defend their lands. Settlers faced constant challenges on the frontier. At the same time, the question of slavery divided the country. The North and South were growing further apart from one another until the split could no longer be avoided. In 1861, the Civil War began, a brutal, bloody conflict that tested whether the United States would remain one nation or break apart. Millions of soldiers were called to fight, and for the first time, America saw war on an industrial scale. Railroads, telegraphs, and factories gave the conflict a modern edge, changing how wars were fought and how quickly supplies and weapons could move. During the Civil War, one of the most important firearms for Union soldiers was the Springfield rifle. Earlier muskets used flint to spark the powder, but by the mid-1800s, technology had moved forward. The Springfield rifle used a percussion cap, a small copper cap filled with explosive material. When struck by the hammer, it ignited the powder charge. This made firing far more reliable, even in rain or damp conditions, which had always been a weakness of flintlock weapons. The Springfield Model 1861 became the standard issue for the Union Army. It was a .58 caliber rifled musket, meaning it fired a large, powerful bullet with spin for accuracy. Soldiers could hit targets at several hundred yards, giving them an advantage over the older smoothbore muskets of the past. The rifle loaded from the muzzle, and a well-trained soldier could fire 2 or 3 rounds a minute. It used paper cartridges, powder and bullet wrapped together, making the process faster than older methods. With a bayonet attached, it could also serve as a close-quarters weapon when needed. More than 1 million Springfield rifles were produced during the war, showing how industrial power shaped the battlefield. While rifles were changing the battlefield, revolvers were transforming personal defense. Before revolvers, most pistols were single-shot, fire once and then reload. Samuel Colt changed that in the 1830s with his first successful design, the Colt Patterson. It used a rotating cylinder that held multiple shots, giving the shooter 5 rounds before reloading. For the first time, a handgun offered real firepower in a compact form. The Patterson, however, was fragile and expensive, but it set the stage for Colt's later revolvers. The most famous was the Colt Navy 1851, a .36 caliber 6-shot revolver carried by soldiers, lawmen, and civilians alike. It became one of the most popular sidearms of the mid-1800s, especially during the Mexican-American War and the Civil War. If one gun came to define the American West, it would have to be the Winchester lever-action rifle. Introduced in 1866, it quickly earned the nickname the rifle that won the West. Unlike muzzle-loading muskets, which required careful reloading after each shot, the Winchester used a lever-action system and a tubular magazine under the barrel. This allowed shooters to fire multiple rounds quickly, then reload with ease. The 1866 model fired the .44 caliber rimfire cartridge, which combined powder, primer, and bullet all in one self-contained unit. That made reloading faster and more reliable than paper cartridges. A skilled shooter could fire 15 or more shots without stopping, which was a huge leap compared to the 2 or 3 rounds a minute of older rifles. The Winchester was lighter and shorter than many military rifles, making it ideal for use on horseback or in rugged terrain. Farmers, settlers, and lawmen all adopted it, as did native warriors who recognized its power in battle. By the late 1800s, America was racing westward. Railroads stretched across the plains, towns rose almost overnight, and settlers pushed into territories that were still rough and unpredictable. This was the age that came to be known as the Wild West, a time of opportunity, danger, and lawlessness. In this era, a few firearms became legendary, not just for their design, but for the role they played in shaping everyday life. No gun is more closely tied to the image of the Old West than the Colt single-action army revolver, often referred to as the Peacemaker. Introduced in 1873, it quickly became the sidearm of choice for soldiers, lawmen, cowboys, and outlaws. Chambered in powerful cartridges like .45 Colt, it combined reliability, stopping power, and single operation. The revolver held 6 rounds in a rotating cylinder and had to be cocked manually for every shot, but it was tough, dependable, and easy to carry on the hip. Its balance and smooth action made it popular with everyone from cavalry troopers to ranch hands. If the Colt revolver was the king of sidearms, the Winchester 1873 was the rifle that ruled the frontier. Building on the success of the earlier 1866 model, the 1873 became legendary for its strength, accuracy, and rapid fire. It used a lever-action design paired with a magazine tube under the barrel, allowing it to hold multiple rounds and cycle them quickly with a flick of the lever. The Winchester 1873 was chambered in .44-40, a cartridge powerful enough for hunting game and versatile enough for defense. What made it especially popular was that many Colt revolvers were also chambered in the same caliber. A cowboy could carry one kind of ammunition and use it for both his rifle and revolver, which was a huge advantage on the trail. Alongside revolvers and rifles, the double-barrel shotgun earned its own place in Wild West history. With 2 barrels that set side by side, it gave the user the ability to fire 2 quick, devastating blasts before reloading. Although it lacked the long-range precision of rifles, the shotgun's raw power made it perfect for close quarters. On the frontier, it was used for hunting bird and small game, but it also became a trusted weapon for defense. Farmers kept them behind doors to ward off intruders. Stagecoach guards carried them to protect passengers and valuable shipments, giving rise to the famous term riding shotgun. In saloons or dusty frontier towns, the presence of a shotgun across the bar was often enough to keep troublemakers in check. As America moved into the 20th century, firearms changed dramatically. Industrial production, new designs, and 2 global wars pushed weapon technology further than ever before. The old revolvers and lever-action rifles of the Wild West gave way to modern bolt-action, semi-automatics, and even submachine guns. 4 firearms stand out from this era, each leaving its mark on both battlefield and American culture. Adopted in the early 1900s, the Springfield 1903 became the U.S. military standard rifle. A bolt-action design chambered in .30-06, it offered excellent power, range, and accuracy. Soldiers worked the bolt by hand, but the action was smooth and dependable, with precision shots going as far as 1,000 yards. It carried 5 rounds and an internal magazine, reloaded with stripper clips, and its 24-inch barrel gave it strong velocity and accuracy. A solid walnut stock and steel receiver made it rugged, with a bayonet mount adding close combat use. The 1903 served as the backbone of U.S. infantry in World War I and well into World War II. The Colt M1911, designed by John Browning, became one of the most famous pistols in the world. It fired the .45 ACP round, known for strong stopping power, but was still small enough to carry on a soldier's side. The pistol held 7 rounds and a detachable magazine, giving it faster reloads than revolvers. It worked with a short recoil system which made each shot smooth and reliable. The single-action trigger was crisp, making it easy to fire accurately. Built from solid steel, the M1911 was tough and long-lasting. It also had safety features like a grip safety and thumb safety that kept it secure. World War I ended before the Thompson submachine gun could be widely used, but by the 1920s and 30s, it had become famous on American streets. Known as the Tommy gun, it fired. Lawmen and gangsters alike favored it, cops for its firepower and criminals for the same reason. Images of Prohibition-era mobsters carrying Tommy guns cemented its place in history. But the gun also served its role in World War II, where soldiers valued its close-range power in jungles, cities, and trenches. In 1936, the US adopted the M1 Garand, a semi-automatic rifle that changed the battlefield. It fired the powerful .30-06 cartridge like the Springfield 1903, but instead of working a bolt by hand, the Garand loaded itself after every shot. This gave soldiers faster, smoother firepower compared to the slower bolt-action rifles many other armies had still used. The rifle used an 8-round clip that fed rounds directly into the chamber. When empty, the clip popped out with a loud ping sound that became famous among troops. With a strong wooden stock, solid steel receiver, and reliable action, the Garand was rugged, accurate, and easy to use under combat conditions. General George Patton called it the greatest battle implement ever devised, and for good reason. It gave American soldiers a clear advantage during World War II. By the mid-20th century, America was entering a new era. The Cold War, the Vietnam conflict, rapid urbanization, and advances in technology all pushed firearms into a period of modernization. Weapons became lighter, faster, and more adaptable to changing needs of both soldiers and civilians. 4 firearms from this era stand out for the way they shaped the battlefield, law enforcement, and civilian use. The M14 rifle, adopted in 1959, was designed to update the old M1 Garand with modern features. It fired the new 7.62 NATO cartridge, offering strong firepower and long-range accuracy. Unlike the Garand's 8-round clip, the M14 used a detachable 20-round magazine, giving soldiers more firepower. It could fire in both semi-automatic and fully automatic modes, but the heavy recoil made full auto hard to control. Built with a solid walnut stock and steel receiver, the rifle was tough, dependable, and accurate, making it effective as both a standard infantry weapon and later as a designated marksman rifle. The M16 and its civilian counterpart, the AR-15, became the most recognized American rifles of the late 20th century. Lightweight, made with aluminum and plastics, and chambered in the smaller 5.56 NATO round, the M16 allowed soldiers to carry more ammo and fire rapidly with less recoil. First issued during the Vietnam War, the M16 had a rocky start with reliability issues, but improvements soon made it the standard U.S. service rifle. Its civilian version, the AR-15, grew into one of the most popular rifles in America, praised for its modular design and adaptability. The M16 and AR-15 family became a symbol of modern firearms, light, accurate, and endlessly customizable. Introduced in 1950, the Remington 870 became the classic American pump-action shotgun. Simple, rugged, and affordable, it quickly spread to homes, police stations, and battlefields. Its design allowed shooters to cycle shells quickly by pumping the forend, firing everything from birdshot to buckshot and slugs. Law enforcement agencies adopted it as a reliable close-range weapon, while the military used it in Vietnam and beyond. At the same time, hunters and homeowners trusted the 870 for its versatility. Over 11 million have been produced, making it one of the best-selling shotguns in all of history. The 870 showed how a straightforward, durable design could serve both professionals and ordinary citizens alike. In the 1980s, a new kind of handgun arrived to the scene, the Glock 17. Designed in Austria and quickly adopted around the world, it changed the handgun market forever. Made with a polymer frame instead of a traditional steel frame, it was lightweight yet durable. Its 17-round magazine offered more capacity than most pistols of its day, and its simple safe-action trigger system made it easy to use under stress. American police departments began adopting the Glock in large numbers, valuing its reliability and firepower. Civilians followed, drawn to its simplicity and effectiveness for self-defense. The Glock 17 and its later models redefined what a modern handgun could be: light, high capacity, and nearly indestructible. The 21st century pushed firearms into a new era of speed, modular design, and specialized roles. Wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, changes in policing, and a growing civilian market drove rapid innovation forward. The guns below show how modern needs, from battlefield flexibility to home defense and long-range precision, shape designs we see today. The AR-15 family became the most talked about rifles of the era. Light, accurate, and highly modular, these rifles use a small, fast cartridge that lets soldiers and shooters carry more ammo with less recoil. The AR-style platform is built to be changed, from stocks and barrels to optics and handguards, all to be swapped within minutes. That kind of flexibility made it a hit with military units, law enforcement, competition shooters, and civilians alike. Because so many companies make parts and whole rifles, the AR-15 evolved into a broad family rather than a single gun, useful for hunting, sport, duty, and defense. In 1917, the US military adopted the Sig Sauer M17 and its smaller version, the M18, as their new standard pistols. Both are based on the Sig P320 design and replace the older Beretta M9. These handguns are semi-automatic and use detachable magazines that hold more rounds than earlier service pistols. They are modular, meaning parts like the frame, slide, and barrel can be swapped to fit different missions or hand sizes. The slides are also cut to mount modern red dot optics, giving soldiers faster target acquisition. The M17 is the full-size model, while the M18 is the more compact and easier one to carry. Both are reliable, simple to maintain, and built to meet demands of modern combat and training. The FN SCAR was made for special forces that needed one gun to do many jobs. It comes in a different size and caliber, a lighter 5.56 version for close work and a bigger 7.62 version for longer shots. Swapping barrels and changing parts is quick, so the same rifle can be set up for short fights in buildings or long-range work in open country. The SCAR is known for being tough, accurate, and easy to maintain. It has a folding stock for carrying, a top rail for sights and optics, and modern controls that work well with gloves and gear. That kind of mix of reliability and flexibility makes it a true multi-role rifle for today's varied battlefields. Shotguns, for the most part, stayed useful by getting tougher and more mission-ready. The Benelli M4 is a semi-automatic shotgun built to run in dirty, harsh conditions. It cycles quickly for fast follow-up shots and is trusted for breaching and combat use. A Mossberg 590 is a pump-action workhorse, simple, rugged, and very reliable under stress. Both guns are used by military units, police, and civilians. They handle many kinds of shells: buckshot for stopping power, slugs for longer shots, and breaching rounds for knocking through doors. The Barrett fires the huge 50 BMG round for extreme range and anti-material work. It's a semi-automatic, recoil-operated rifle with a big muzzle brake to help tame recoil. It uses 8 to 10 round box magazines, long barrels, and rails for powerful optics, and is usually shot from a bipod, tripod, or even a vehicle mount. Heavy, loud, and ammo-hungry, it's the specialized tool for long-range, high-impact tasks. From muskets to modern rifles, one thing has truly stayed the same: the Second Amendment and the American right to bear arms. Each era brought a new weapon, but also a new meaning, shaping how people lived, fought, and defined freedom for themselves. And that's why the Second Amendment remains important today. It is more than just words on paper. It's a shield of freedom, a safeguard for self-defense, and a reminder that America's strength lies within its people and their enduring rights. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share it, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And stay tuned. Our next video breaks down the myths and realities of Wild West gunfights. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.